it looks like spring has finally sprung. So we went from cold to like nearly 90 degrees. All right, so let's see what's up in the shop today. I think I see. It's a spook.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Uh-oh, we got a new iPad out?
Yeah.
Damn,
I know,
girl.
right?
So how you liking the new tech?
It's awesome.
So it costs the same as your old laptop?
It did. The one that I bought in like 2014.
And it's got way more memory.
Yeah.
So
512 gigs, baby.
wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know.
All solid state? Shit.
I know, right?
So moving up in the world.
I guess.
It's like I can remember when I met you, you were still running on a crappy little laptop and a netbook and shit.
My Dell.
Yeah.
It wasn't a netbook, but it was a Dell that weighed like
Oh, turn it down.
80 pounds.
Just taking a little bit of a break while figuring out how to not fight with a part. It's always finesse. It's not force.
No finesse. I mean, finesse, not force.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I'm just trying to process and figure out what I'm doing.
That's a big part of working on VWs and Porsches, isn't
Well,
it?
it's a big
you gotta
part.
look at it and contemplate. And
It's a kind of a big deal working on any cars, but you know these things are so simplistically, brutally engineered. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of simplistic engineering,
Yeah.
and if you overthink it, guess what? It's going to get worse. So, you know, sometimes you do have to bring out the hammer, and I've got a little hammer in there that I'm working on with, but
so it's kind of like that. You used to have that. What was it? The station that you were listening to, where it was like astronauts, and they're like, hit it with a hammer.
hit it with the hammer. Get
You're
a
talking
bigger
to
hammer.
NASA.
Yeah, that's
So in case-
NASA.
Right. So for those of you who don't realize, we're outside of Huntsville, Alabama, and
Rocket City.
Rocket City, where you can. What do they say? You could sling a dead cat and hit a rocket scientist, or
Yeah, you can.
something like that. I don't really know why we're doing that to cats. But
And I wouldn't swing a dead cat because they get kind of stiff and stinky, and then the fur
I would
slides
think.
off.
I would think.
So it's kind of quiet. We did customer drop off this morning in Huntsville. Jeff and Stone did, and then they did a pickup of an existing client that's having some more issues. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that this week and get that taken care of.
Good.
So after I run out of parts to finish putting on the car, Jeff gets his phone for electrical. This is Miss Linker. It's a 68 Euro.
Okay.
A little bit different. It looks a lot like the 67s.
Yeah.
With the hard dash, and there's some weird parts that are 66, 67, 68 for the US market, but there's very specific stuff for the 68 Euros.
Right. And so sometimes this happens, guys. Like Volkswagen factories were super efficient. No surprise there.
Yes.
So they used what they have.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, you know, they have leftover parts, and like within the US market, we were the first market to get the padded dash in 60, that was in 68. And being this is a 68 Euro, the safety regulations hadn't been put in place in Germany yet, or in the rest of Europe.
So they wanted a nice, hard, metallic, solid dash.
Yeah, they actually used to sell these little tiny rubber balls that you could stick onto the dash to protect the kid's forehead when they smacked it.
Oh my gosh.
And they did come with like seat belts. Although they think they were a dealer option until they were mandated. But in about 64, 65, we started seeing the anchor points going in for the 3-point harnesses.
Right.
And that's across all markets.
Oh yeah.
So worldwide, but U.S. it was kind of a leader in some of the safety requirements. Like this one has this one has the collapsible steering wheel.
Okay.
Well, it's not a collapsible steering wheel, but it's a
It'll compress rather than.
It's a collapsible shaft.
Rather than going through you.
Yeah. So I can kind of show you. This was one of the safety interventions. So while this is structurally sound and rotational, if it ever gets a smack, this will collapse before going up into your chest with the steering wheel. So
that's a good bonus.
Yeah. So, you know, the Europeans did kind of put this in here. It's like we're slowly putting it back together. Like I said, Jeffy's got electric next.
Oh, yay.
So we'll see how that
Chasing
goes.
gremlins.
Chasing gremlins. This should be a fresh harness. So
don't feed them. Don't let them get wet.
No, no. And never let the Blue Genie out of the container.
Oh, yes.
Because once the Blue Genie's out, it doesn't work.
Well, now you got to
anymore.
tell people what that is. Not everybody
I'll let
knows.
Jeff
what that is.
explain what the Blue Genie is.
Oh, okay.
Because he let one escape today. In fact, you can catch him over on his thing.
Okay. Jeff,
Yes.
talk to me about the Blue Genie.
Blue Genie sucks.
What happened?
So the Blue Genie is when a wire product shorts out.
Uh-huh.
So I was working on a van again, and I opened up the deck lid, and one of the wires had been chewed up by a rat, and all of a sudden the whole back of the engine compartment was smoking. It's
Oh.
not necessarily flames coming out of it, but it's going through your wiring system, and it burns your insulation off, and it degrades and destroys all of your wires.
So it's a little bit exciting and completely frustrating and
Well,
maybe
when
a
it's-
little horrifying.
A little horrifying, especially when it's around a fuel system.
Well, yeah.
And then that'll definitely get you going. And then especially when it was right next to the battery. So
Uh-huh.
at that time, I didn't know if I was having a battery short or if it was a secondary wire system. So this happened to be a secondary wire system that somebody throughout the line had piggybacked on the original wire harness.
Great.
And then when they did it, it wasn't done properly. And then throughout the years, it gets degraded. Animals chew on them, and it just goes from there.
All right, so I got questions now.
Okay.
Number one, how would somebody know? What are the warning signs that Blue Genie's about to come and get you?
There may or may not be any. Some of the steps that you can look for is degraded wire installation. So this is an older wire here, and if you look at it, you have a couple marks where something had happened to it. It looks like it had been burnt a little bit. And feeling the wire, it is not very malleable. You can feel the brittle, you can feel it cracking. So that's a sign that your wire is degraded. It's time to go ahead and go through and replace everything on it. And you can look at the coloring. So we have two different wires. This one has been around a lot longer because it's going to start to fade a little bit.
Yeah.
And this one's a little more malleable, and the color's a lot more vibrant on it.
Yeah.
That's not always an indicator, but when it fades, it means it's been in the sun.
Gotcha.
And sun eats plastic, and that's
Well,
all
yeah.
wire installation is a form of plastic.
So how long should somebody be able to get from the wiring system in their Volkswagen or Porsche?
So how long should they be? You'll get at least 10, 20 years out of them if it's taken care of, if not longer. If
Okay.
you take care of it and you make sure it's not being chafed on other components when you go through it, and make sure when you do your inspections, you change your spark plugs, you do a regular tune-up, check your wires also. If you see something that's frayed, cracked, or broken, just replace it. Replace it or repair it. It makes it easier that way. Than in the long run, you'll have a lot more life out of your complete wire harness.
Okay. And don't let your pet rats in there.
Don't let your pet rats in there. Sun is horrible on it. So if you're doing a project and you have your dash apart and you have all your wires exposed and the car's outside, over time it will eat it up. The cars that have sat for years, everybody loves, oh, it's a barn find. It ran when I parked it, but it sat for 20 years under this tree back here.
With goats.
The goats eat it. We have seen all type of stuff. They go through and eat them. But if it's done that, just count the wiring system is pretty much thrashed. Me personally, I would not take a chance of putting myself, my son, or anybody else, any of our clients especially, in a system that has sat that long without just replacing the wire system.
Sure. Because what can happen? Fire?
Fire. You can catch fire in the whole
Fire,
car.
guys. Fire bad.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's definitely bad. Your whole car can burn down. And you could be inside of it. Or
That's not good.
No.
That is not a good day.
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially when you're dealing with fuel system, fuel systems along with it. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
all can be a chain reaction of
Oh,
events.
not a good day.
Exactly,
Definitely.
yeah.
So is this something that people can take care of on their own if they've got some skills? Or...
If you have the skills, yes, you can take care of it. Some of it just can be simple connectors. You might just have to cut end of a connector off and put a new connector on and recrimp it down. It's real simple to do. Your local auto parts store has those connectors. You can buy the wire strippers, you can buy the crimper and everything. Probably around 20, 30 bucks for everything at your local store. Once you get deeper into it, you're going to need wire diagrams, which I am actually going through.
Oh, a little light reading, huh?
Little light reading, yes. So I'm going through a bus wiring diagram. So they're all a little bit different. This is a later model. This is for a 79 Vanagon. And if you don't know how to read one of these and you're chasing wires, you can really mess something up, especially with your later models that have computers in them.
Sure.
So when you get to your Vanagons and everything, they will have a brain that controls your fuel injection system. It controls your fuel pump, and it can be a mess.
Ugh.
It can tear it up. So if you have any questions, give us a call. Or just ask somebody that you know around that may know a little bit more about electronics.
There you go. Jeff is the juice man.
Yay!
Let's see what else is going on. Thanks, Jeff.
No problem.
All
Have
right,
fun.
who's back here causing a racket? This must be Stone. He's gonna be grinding and welding on this stuff for a while. I'll show you guys, but I'm not looking. Hey, Stone. I don't think he can. Probably has his tunes on. I'll let you guys watch that for a moment. All right, we're going to see what else is going on. Okay. Aha.
What?
There you are.
What?
We're just looking around. What else is going on?
I don't know.
Where's Rodney? Oh. All right, Rodney, what are you up to today?
I've been doing a little bit of everything today.
Oh, a mishmash.
A
A
mishmash.
potpourri.
Bumblebee came in for a new shifter.
Okay.
Had the radio wasn't working
Oh.
and the horn wasn't working, so we got that fixed. Found an exhaust leak. Had to pull the heater box and fix that one as well.
Ooh.
So now she's all good to go.
That's good. I heard some little grumble out there. Were you
That
test
was it.
driving?
Yeah.
Nice. She
Having
sounds
fun.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
She's
did-
good.
You sound like you were hating that, huh?
Yeah, she does good. That's one of the perks of the job.
There you go.
That's exactly it. Exactly it.
Now, do we have anything exciting coming in?
Not that I know of.
Oh, I thought we had an old Chevy truck or.
Maybe so.
Okay.
Doc's throwing that idea around. Her old Chevy truck coming.
Well,
Fiddle around with it a little bit, maybe.
there you go. Well, that'll be fun.
Yep, it'll be good.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for today. Say goodbye to the nice people.
Goodbye, nice people.